In a small village plagued by sorrow, a young girl lost everything she loved, her father, her mother, and her own dignity. Traded to the highest bidder by the woman who was supposed to protect her, she refused to let her soul be bought. This is her story of courage and redemption. Welcome back to Rosie's African Folktale, where ancient legends meet today's struggles. In this dark tale, we journey with a girl whose tears became rivers of resilience and whose spirit could not be broken. Let's dive into this gripping folktale that echoes the pain and hope of many. In the quiet village of Anyuha, the air was heavy with the scent of sorrow. Once, laughter and music filled the narrow paths between the mud-brick houses. Children chased each other beneath the ancient baobab trees, and mothers pounded yam in the rhythm of the drumbeat that echoed through the night. But that was before the sickness came. It started as a simple cough, a fever that rose like the midday sun. People thought it would pass, as sickness always did. They boiled bitter herbs and made offerings at the shrine of the river goddess, but the cough turned to wheezing, the fever turned to death. Soon, the wails of mourners filled the air, drowning out the songs of the birds. Among those who suffered was a young girl named Adama. She lived with her father, Matsiobina, and her mother, Mama Nena, in a small hut near the edge of the village. Her father was a palm wine tapper, strong and proud, his laughter booming like thunder. Her mother was the best cook in Anyuha, her spicy stews known far and wide. Adama loved to sit by the hearth and watch her mother stir the pot. She would lean close, the sweet aroma of peppers and onions filling her nose. One day, you will cook like this, Mama Nena would say, tapping Adama's nose with a wooden spoon. Adama would laugh, her eyes bright like the morning sun. But the sickness crept in like a shadow. First, Mama Nena grew tired. Her laughter grew quiet, and her hands shook as she stirred the pot. Adama brought her water and sang to her softly, hoping her songs would chase the sickness away. But the fever burned hot, and one night, Mama Nena did not wake up. Adama wept beside her mother's body, her tears soaking the mat. Her father wrapped Mama Nena in white cloth and carried her to the village square, where the elders gathered. The drumbeat was slow and mournful, the wails of the women rising like the wind. Matsiobina tried to be strong for Adama. He carried her on his shoulders to the river to wash away her tears. "We must be brave, my little moon," he said, his voice rough with grief. "The spirits will guide us through." But the sickness was not done with their family. A week after Mama Nena's burial, Matsiobina began to cough. At first, he tried to hide it, turning away to spit into the bushes. But soon, his breath grew ragged, and he could no longer stand. Adama watched in fear as her father, once as strong as the irako tree, lay trembling on the mat. The village healer, Mama Ozioma, came with her basket of herbs. She crushed bitter leaves and mixed them with honey, making a tea that steamed with hope. Adama held the cup to her father's lips, whispering prayers to the gods. But the sickness was stronger than the prayers. One night, as the moon rose over Anyuha, Matsiobina took his last breath. Adama lay beside him, holding his hand, her tears falling like the river's gentle flow. When the sun rose, she was alone. In the quiet village of Anyuha, the air was heavy with the scent of sorrow. Once, laughter and music filled the narrow paths between the mud-brick houses. Children chased each other beneath the ancient baobab trees, and mothers pounded yam in the rhythm of the drumbeat that echoed through the night. But that was before the sickness came. It started as a simple cough, a fever that rose like the midday sun. People thought it would pass, as sickness always did. They boiled bitter herbs and made offerings at the shrine of the river goddess, but the cough turned to wheezing, the fever turned to death. Soon, the wails of mourners filled the air, drowning out the songs of the birds. Among those who suffered was a young girl named Adama. She lived with her father, Matsiobina, and her mother, Mama Nena, in a small hut near the edge of the village. Her father was a palm wine tapper, strong and proud, his laughter booming like thunder. Her mother was the best cook in Anyuha, her spicy stews known far and wide. Adama loved to sit by the hearth and watch her mother stir the pot. She would lean close, the sweet aroma of peppers and onions filling her nose. One day, you will cook like this, Mama Nena would say, tapping Adama's nose with a wooden spoon. Adama would laugh, her eyes bright like the morning sun. But the sickness crept in like a shadow. First, Mama Nena grew tired. Her laughter grew quiet, and her hands shook as she stirred the pot. Adama brought her water and sang to her softly, hoping her songs would chase the sickness away. But the fever burned hot, and one night, Mama Nena did not wake up. Adama wept beside her mother's body, her tears soaking the mat. Her father wrapped Mama Nena in white cloth and carried her to the village square, where the elders gathered. The drumbeat was slow and mournful, the wails of the women rising like the wind. Matsiobina tried to be strong for Adama. He carried her on his shoulders to the river to wash away her tears. "We must be brave, my little moon," he said, his voice rough with grief. "The spirits will guide us through." But the sickness was not done with their family. A week after Mama Nena's burial, Matsiobina began to cough. At first, he tried to hide it, turning away to spit into the bushes. But soon, his breath grew ragged, and he could no longer stand. Adama watched in fear as her father, once as strong as the Irako tree, lay trembling on the mat. The village healer, Mama Ozioma, came with her basket of herbs. She crushed bitter leaves and mixed them with honey, making a tea that steamed with hope. Adama held the cup to her father's lips, whispering prayers to the gods. But the sickness was stronger than the prayers. One night, as the moon rose over Anyuha, Matsiobina took his last breath. Adama lay beside him, holding his hand, her tears falling like the river's gentle flow. When the sun rose, she was alone. The days in Anyuha grew longer and colder for Adama. Her father and mother's laughter had faded into memory, replaced by the harsh voice of her stepmother, Ijeoma. The once warm and welcoming hut became a place of shadows and fear. Ijeoma took over everything. She claimed the best cooking pots and the warmest blankets. She wore Mama Nena's jewelry and called it hers. She even sat in Papa Obina's chair by the fire, looking out at the world like a queen on her throne. But to Adama, she was no queen. She was a shadow that turned her world to dust. Each morning, Ijeoma would wake her up before the sun rose. "Adama," she barked, shaking her roughly. "Get up. There is work to do. Do you think this house will clean itself?" Adama would rub the sleep from her eyes and stumble to her feet. She swept the courtyard, her fingers raw and cracked from the broom. She fetched water from the river, balancing the heavy pot on her head as she walked the long path home. When she returned, Ijeoma would stand at the doorway, frowning. "You are too slow," Ijeoma said, snatching the pot from her head. "Do you want the spirits to see you idle? Move faster, girl." The other children, Chijioke and Chidinma, watched with smirks on their faces. They never had to work as Adama did. They sat at the table, eating thick slices of yam and roasted fish, while Adama's stomach growled like a hungry animal. Sometimes, Ijeoma would let Adama eat the scraps from their plates. A fish bone here, a morsel of yam there. But most days, she went to bed with an empty belly, curling up on her thin mat by the hearth. The pain in her stomach was nothing compared to the ache in her heart. She missed her mother's gentle hands, the way she sang as she cooked. She missed her father's warm laughter, how he would scoop her up and tell her stories of the spirits in the river. But those days were gone, buried with them under the red earth of the village square. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky with streaks of orange, Adama dared to ask for a piece of roasted plantain that Chijioke had left half-eaten. "Please, may I have it?" she whispered, her voice shaking. Ijeoma's eyes flashed like lightning. "You think you deserve this?" she spat, snatching the plantain from her hand. "You are nothing but a burden. Your mother spoiled you, but I will make you strong. Go find your own food." Chijioke and Chidinma laughed as Adama turned away, her cheeks burning with shame. She slipped out of the hut and wandered to the riverbank. The water glowed silver in the moonlight, and the frogs sang their mournful songs. She knelt by the river and cupped her hands, drinking the cold water to fill her empty belly. As she drank, tears spilled down her cheeks, mingling with the river. "Mama," she whispered, "why did you leave me? Why must I suffer so?" But the river only sang back to her, its voice soft and endless. The next morning, Ijeoma gave Adama a new task. "Today, you will wash all the clothes," she said, her eyes hard. She dumped a pile of dirty cloths at Adama's feet. "And do not come back until they are spotless." Adama carried the bundle to the river, her thin arms trembling under the weight. She knelt in the shallows and scrubbed each cloth until her fingers bled. The water was cold, and the rocks were rough, but she did not stop. She worked until the sun was high and her skin was burnt red. As she worked, she watched the children of the village play. They splashed in the river, their laughter like the tinkling of bells. For a moment, she forgot her pain and let the cool water wash over her feet. She closed her eyes and imagined her mother standing beside her, singing the old songs. But the spell broke when she heard Ijeoma's voice. "Adama, stop daydreaming and finish your work." She jumped up and scrubbed harder, biting back her tears. One afternoon, after she had finished her chores, Adama found a small clay pot in the forest. It was cracked and worn, but she held it close like a treasure. She filled it with river water and placed it beside her mat. "A gift for Mama and Papa," she whispered. "So they know I still remember." Ijeoma saw the pot and sneered. "What is this nonsense? Do you think your dead parents care for you now? You are alone in this world. No one will save you." Adama said nothing. She clutched the pot to her chest and went to bed hungry again. One evening, as the moon rose full and bright, Ijeoma called Adama to her side. "Tomorrow, the chief's messenger will come to our house," she said, her voice low and sly. "You must be on your best behavior. Do not embarrass me, do you hear?" Adama nodded, though she did not understand. The chief's messenger was a man of power, and his words carried weight. Why would he come to their small hut? But she had learned not to question Ijeoma. She knew that questions only brought more pain. That night, she lay on her mat and listened to the crickets singing in the darkness. She thought of the old days, when her mother would tell her stories of brave girls who outsmarted witches and clever animals who tricked the spirits. She wished she was one of those girls, with magic in her heart and a spirit too strong to break. But she was only Adama, a girl alone in the world, with no mother to sing to her and no father to chase away her nightmares. As she drifted to sleep, she promised herself one thing: she would not let Ijeoma's cruelty turn her heart to stone. She would hold on to the memory of her parents, to the love that once filled their home. Even if she was forced to eat scraps and sleep on the cold floor, she would not let the darkness steal the light inside her. For in the quiet corners of her heart, Adama still believed that one day, the sun would rise again over Anyuha, and the laughter would return. The next morning, the sun rose like a shy smile over the village of Anyuha. Adama woke early, her heart thumping with worry. The chief's messenger was coming, and Ijeoma's words from the night before still echoed in her mind. "Do not embarrass me," Ijeoma had hissed. Adama dressed in her best clothes, though they were thin and worn. She combed her hair carefully and splashed cool river water on her face. She wanted to look neat, even if she had nothing fancy to wear. When the chief's messenger arrived, he was dressed in bright colors, with beads around his neck and a staff in his hand. He had a deep voice that rumbled like thunder, and his eyes shone with pride. The villagers came out to greet him, bowing low and speaking in soft voices. Ijeoma welcomed him with a smile as sweet as honey. "Welcome, messenger of Chief Ease," she said. "Our home is yours." The messenger looked around, his eyes sharp. "I come on behalf of the chief," he said. "He seeks a girl of good spirit to serve in his household." Adama's heart skipped a beat. She knew what that meant. The chief wanted a girl to serve in his kitchen and clean his grand hut. It was an honor in some ways, but it was also hard work. Ijeoma's smile widened. "I have just the girl," she said, resting her hand on Adama's shoulder. "She is strong and obedient." Adama looked at Ijeoma, confused. She had never imagined being sent away from her home. but when Igioma looked into her eyes, Adama saw a glint of something cold. She realized this was not a chance for honor, it was a way for Igioma to be rid of her. The messenger nodded. Very well. She will come with me tomorrow. That night, Adama lay awake, staring at the clay pot she had found in the forest. She thought of her mother's stories, of girls who faced dangers bravely, of spirits who watched over the river. She wondered if her mother's spirit still watched her. Please, Mama, she whispered into the darkness. Help me be strong. The next morning, Adama followed the messenger down the dusty path that led to Chief Iza's grand compound. Her heart was heavy, but she kept her head high. The sun was hot on her skin, and the air smelled of wood smoke and wildflowers. Chief Iza's compound was bigger than any home she had ever seen. The huts were tall and round, with roofs of palm fronds. The courtyard was full of people, cooks stirring pots, warriors sharpening spears, and children chasing chickens. The messenger led her to the chief's wife, Madame Kem. She was a woman with bright eyes and a voice as smooth as river water. So you are the girl, Madame Kem said, studying Adama closely. You will serve in my kitchen. Work hard, and you will have food in your belly and a place to sleep. Adama bowed low. Yes, madam. She was put to work at once, scrubbing pots and carrying firewood. The kitchen was hot, and the smoke made her eyes sting, but she worked without complaint. She remembered her mother's gentle hands, the way she had taught her to cook, and she poured that love into every task. Days turned into weeks. Adama worked hard, and though her feet ached and her back burned, she found a strange comfort in the rhythm of her work. Madame Kem was stern but fair, and for the first time since her parents had died, Adama felt a tiny spark of hope. But one evening, as the moon rose full and silver over the village, the chief himself came to the kitchen. He was a tall man with a deep voice and eyes that seemed to see everything. Girl, he said to Adama, come here. She bowed low, her heart pounding. Yes, my chief. He looked at her closely, his gaze sharp and unsettling. You are the girl from Igioma's household, he said. Your spirit is strong. Thank you, my chief, she said, her voice trembling. The chief's eyes darkened. I have heard whispers of your beauty, he said softly. Of your innocence. Adama's stomach turned to ice. She knew the chief's words were not just praise. She saw the way his eyes lingered on her, the way his lips curved into a smile that did not reach his eyes. She bowed again and hurried back to her work, but her heart was a drum in her chest. That night, she could not sleep. She sat by the hearth, staring into the dying embers. She thought of her mother's stories, of spirits who protected the innocent, of rivers that carried away pain. But the chief's gaze haunted her dreams. The next day, Madame Kem called her aside. The chief has taken an interest in you, she said, her voice low and careful. You must be careful, Adama. Adama looked up at her, fear in her eyes. What do you mean, madam? Madame Kem sighed, her face kind but worried. The chief is a powerful man, she said. But power can be dangerous. Guard your spirit, girl. Do not let him steal your light. Adama nodded, though her heart quaked like a leaf in the wind. That night, she went to the river, the place where she had always found comfort. She knelt at the water's edge, letting the cool water wash over her hands. She closed her eyes and whispered, Spirits of the river, protect me. Mama, watch over me. She thought of the clay pot she had left behind, of the way her mother's laughter had once filled their home. She thought of Igioma's cruelty and the chief's dark gaze. And in that moment, she felt a spark of something fierce inside her. I will not be broken, she whispered. I will not let the chief steal my spirit. She rose from the river, her heart steady and strong. She knew the road ahead would be hard, but she would face it with courage. For she was Adama, the daughter of Obina and Nena, and their love still burned in her heart. The sun set over the village of Anyuha, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Adama sat in the small kitchen, her hands busy with the evening meal. The aroma of roasted yam filled the air, but her heart was far away. She could not shake the memory of the chief's dark eyes and the way Madame Kem had warned her. That night, when the food was ready, she carried a clay pot of spicy soup to Madame Kem's hut. Madame Kem sat by the doorway, her face lined with worry. "Adama," she said softly, "the chief has summoned you to his hut tonight." Adama froze, the pot trembling in her hands. "Tonight?" she whispered. Madame Kem nodded. "He is a man of great power, Adama. But you must be careful. Remember your mother's wisdom and the spirits of the river." Adama's throat went dry. She thought of her mother's gentle hands, of the lullabies she had sung to her. She took a deep breath and whispered, "I will be careful, madam." When the last rays of the sun faded and the stars appeared, Adama made her way to the chief's hut. The compound was quiet, the air heavy with the scent of burning wood. She walked slowly, her heart beating fast. At the doorway, the chief's guard stepped aside to let her in. The chief sat in the center of the hut, wearing a fine robe woven with gold threads. His eyes shone like the moon, and a faint smile played on his lips. "Come, Adama," he said in a voice that was soft and deep. She stepped closer and knelt, bowing her head low. "Yes, my chief," she said. The chief studied her, his eyes dark and hungry. "You have served my household well," he said. "You are obedient and gentle. But I want more from you, Adama." Her stomach twisted. "What do you mean, my chief?" she asked, her voice trembling. He leaned forward, his smile fading. "I have been cursed by the spirits," he said in a low voice. "The village healer says that only the touch of a pure girl can break this curse. And you, Adama, are the one." Adama's eyes widened in horror. "My chief, I do not understand," she whispered. He reached out and touched her chin, tilting her face up to meet his gaze. "You will come to my bed tonight," he said. "You will save me from this curse." Adama's heart pounded so hard she thought it might break through her chest. She wanted to run, to hide, but she could not move. "My chief, I am only a servant," she said, her voice shaking. "I am not worthy of your bed." The chief's eyes narrowed. "You are the one the spirits have chosen," he said. "Do not refuse me, girl. You would be turning your back on your duty to this village." Adama swallowed hard, tears burning her eyes. She thought of her parents, of the love they had given her. She thought of the river spirits who watched over her. She wanted to scream, but she forced her voice to stay calm. "I will do what I must, my chief," she said quietly, though inside she was screaming. He dismissed her with a wave of his hand, and she rose to her feet. She walked out of the hut, her legs trembling, her mind swirling like a storm. She wanted to run to Madame Kem, to beg for help, but she knew the chief's word was final. She walked to the river, the moonlight silver on the water. She knelt at the edge, her tears falling into the ripples. "Spirits of the river," she whispered, "I am so afraid." A soft breeze brushed her face, and she felt a shiver run through her. She thought she heard her mother's voice in the wind, "Be brave, my daughter. Do not let them steal your spirit." Adama sat by the river until the moon was high in the sky. She felt the weight of the chief's demand pressing on her, but deep inside, she felt something else too, something strong and stubborn. "I will not let him take my spirit," she said softly, her voice firm. When midnight came, she walked back to the chief's hut, her head held high. She pushed open the door and stepped inside. The chief sat on his bed, waiting. "You have come," he said. Adama bowed low. "Yes, my chief," she said. He reached for her hand, but she pulled away, her eyes blazing. "My chief, I have something to say," she said, her voice strong and clear. The chief frowned. "What is it, girl?" She took a deep breath. "The spirits of the river have given me a gift," she said. "A gift of truth and protection. If you touch me with unclean hands, they will strike you down." The chief laughed, but there was a flicker of fear in his eyes. "You dare speak to me like this?" Adama stood tall. "I dare, my chief," she said. "For I am the daughter of Obina and Nena, and their spirit lives in me." The chief's laughter died, and he leaned back, his eyes wary. "Go back to your kitchen," he said at last. "I will not touch you tonight." Adama bowed and left the hut, her heart racing. She knew the danger was not over, but she had faced it tonight with courage. She would not let him steal her light. That night, she lay on her mat in the kitchen, staring at the flickering fire. She thought of the chief's dark eyes and the power of the spirits who watched over her. "I am not alone," she whispered into the darkness. "I am never alone." The morning sun rose gently over the village of Anuha, its golden light washing away the darkness of the night. Adama woke up with a heavy heart, but a spark of hope flickered inside her. She had faced the chief's demand and walked away with her dignity and her spirit. That thought gave her strength as she began her morning chores. She fetched water from the river, the cool breeze calming her mind. As she filled her calabash, she noticed Madame Kem standing by the riverbank, her eyes watchful. "Adama," Madame Kem called softly. Adama walked over, bowing her head respectfully. "Good morning, madam," she said. Madame Kem placed a hand on her shoulder. "I heard what happened last night," she said, her voice low but firm. "The spirits must be with you, child. You are braver than most." Adama's eyes widened. "How did you know?" Madame Kem smiled faintly. "The river spirits have ears, Adama. They watch over those who walk in truth. You did not let fear control you." Adama felt warmth spread in her chest. "I was so scared," she admitted. "But I remembered my mother's words and the spirits of the river." "Good," Madame Kem said, her voice gentle. "You must hold on to those words, child. There is a power in them." Together, they walked back to the village, the early morning sounds of roosters crowing and children laughing filling the air. Adama felt a little stronger with each step. In the kitchen, she set to work peeling yams and slicing vegetables for the midday meal. As she worked, she hummed a song her mother used to sing, a soft melody that spoke of hope and healing. But as she sang, she heard footsteps outside the kitchen door. She turned to see a young boy peeking in, his wide eyes curious. "Adama," he said shyly, "the elders want to see you at the village square." Adama's heart skipped a beat. "The elders?" she asked, her hands pausing. The boy nodded and ran off. Adama wiped her hands on her wrapper and took a deep breath. She knew the elder's summons was important. She walked quickly, her bare feet padding on the dusty path. The village square was already filled with people when she arrived. The elders sat in a circle, their faces serious. Children played on the sidelines, but the air was tense. Adama walked forward and knelt before the elders, her head bowed. Adama, the oldest elder, Matsio Koro, said in a deep voice, "We have heard whispers of what happened with the chief last night." Adama swallowed hard. "Yes, my elders," she said quietly. "Is it true that he demanded you break your purity to cure his sickness?" another elder asked. Adama nodded slowly. "It is true, my elders." A murmur went through the crowd. Some villagers looked shocked, while others looked away in shame. Matsio Koro cleared his throat. "The chief's sickness has brought great fear to our village," he said. "But your courage has shown us a new way to fight this evil." Adama looked up, her eyes wide. "A new way, my elders?" The elder nodded. "Your refusal has reminded us that our people must not bow to darkness," he said. "We will seek the wisdom of the river spirits and find a way to lift this curse without harming the innocent." Adama felt a surge of hope. "Thank you, my elders," she said, her voice trembling. Matsio Koro raised a hand. "But be careful, Adama," he said gravely. "The chief is a powerful man. His pride has been wounded, and he may try to harm you. You must keep your heart strong and your spirit pure." Adama bowed her head. "I will, my elders," she said firmly. As she rose to leave, she noticed a young girl, Chidinma, standing at the edge of the square. Chidinma was her friend, and her eyes were filled with worry. "Adama," Chidinma whispered, pulling her aside, "I am so proud of you. But you must be careful. My mother says the chief is furious. Adama nodded, her heart thudding. I know, Chidinma. But I will not let him take away my spirit. Chidinma squeezed her hand. You are the strongest girl I know, she said with a small smile. Adama smiled back, though fear still lurked in her chest. She walked back to the kitchen, her mind racing with thoughts of what might come next. She knew the chief would not forget her refusal. But she also knew she was not alone. That night, as the village settled into sleep, Adama sat by the fire with Madame Kem. The old woman stirred a pot of herbs, her eyes thoughtful. You must drink this, Madame Kem said, handing her a small calabash. It will protect your spirit and keep your dreams clear. Adama took the drink, the bitter liquid burning her tongue. Thank you, madam, she said. Madame Kem looked at her with kind eyes. You have faced great darkness, child, she said. But remember, the river spirits are always with those who walk in truth. Adama nodded, feeling a calm strength settle in her chest. She lay down on her mat, the smell of herbs filling the air. As she closed her eyes, she thought of her mother's songs and the river's soft whispers. In her dreams, she saw the river, its waters shimmering silver in the moonlight. She heard her mother's voice in the wind, singing the song of hope. Do not fear, my child, the voice said. Your spirit is strong, and no man can take it from you. Adama woke with the dawn, her heart light. She rose and walked to the river, the morning mist cool on her face. She knelt by the water, whispering her thanks to the spirits who watched over her. I will not give up, she said softly. I will not let the chief's darkness steal my light. As she stood, she felt the river's breeze brush her cheek like a mother's gentle hand. And in that touch, she found the courage to face whatever came next. The morning light in Anyuha village was soft and golden, but Adama's heart felt heavy as she went about her chores. Every corner of the village seemed to whisper the chief's anger. She kept her head down and worked quietly, but fear lingered in her mind like a shadow. As she carried a basket of yams to the kitchen, a girl named Ngozi approached her. Ngozi was older and known for her sharp tongue, but her eyes held no malice today. Adama, Ngozi whispered, glancing around to make sure no one was listening. Come to the grove by the river tonight. There's something you need to hear. Adama frowned. The grove? Why? Ngozi looked at her with urgency. Just come. You will understand. Before Adama could ask another question, Ngozi slipped away, her bright wrapper swirling around her ankles. Adama's heart pounded. What secret was waiting for her in the grove? She tried to push it from her mind as she worked, but the thought kept returning like a stubborn song. When night fell, Adama wrapped a shawl around her shoulders and slipped out of the kitchen. She moved quietly, careful not to wake Madame Kem. The moon was full, its pale light shimmering on the path. Crickets sang in the grass as she walked, the air cool and still. At the edge of the grove, tall trees stood like silent guardians. Adama took a deep breath and stepped inside. The air was thick with the scent of earth and leaves. In the moonlight, she saw Ngozi standing by an ancient irako tree, her face serious. You came, Ngozi said softly. Adama nodded, her heart racing. What is this about, Ngozi? Ngozi looked around before speaking. I know what the chief is planning, she said. He's angry because you refused him. He's telling the elders that you're cursed, that you're the reason the sickness has come to Anyuha. Adama's eyes widened. That's not true, she said, her voice shaking. I know, Ngozi said quickly. But he's trying to turn the people against you. He wants them to believe you're a witch. Adama felt like the earth had shifted beneath her feet. A witch, she whispered. Ngozi nodded grimly. He says the river spirits have cursed him because of you. He wants the elders to drive you from the village. Adama shook her head, tears stinging her eyes. But I did nothing wrong, she said, her voice trembling. I believe you, Ngozi said. But the chief is powerful. If he speaks, many will listen. Adama clutched her shawl tighter around her shoulders. What can I do? Ngozi took her hand. There is one who might help. Old Papa Chijioke, the storyteller. He knows the old ways and the secrets of the river. He can speak to the spirits and prove your innocence. Adama's breath caught. But will he help me? He will if you ask, Ngozi said. But you must go tonight, while the moon is full. The spirits are closest when the river glows silver. Adama nodded, her resolve growing stronger. I will go, she said. Ngozi squeezed her hand. Be careful, Adama. The chief's eyes are everywhere. With that, Ngozi slipped away into the night, leaving Adama alone beneath the ancient tree. Adama took a deep breath, the air cool and damp on her skin. She knew what she had to do. She turned toward the river, her bare feet silent on the path. The riverbank glowed in the moonlight, the water shimmering like liquid silver. She saw old Papa Chijioke sitting on a stone by the water's edge, his white beard gleaming in the moonlight. He looked up as she approached, his eyes kind and knowing. Child, he said, his voice deep and warm, why have you come to me on this sacred night? Adama knelt before him, her voice low. Papa Chijioke, I need your help, she said. The chief says I am cursed, that I am the reason for his sickness. But it's not true. I swear it on my mother's grave. Papa Chijioke studied her, his wise eyes glinting like stars. I have heard the whispers, he said. But I have also heard the river's song. You are no witch, child. Adama felt tears of relief prick her eyes. Then help me, Papa, she pleaded. How can I prove my innocence? Papa Chijioke rose slowly, leaning on his staff. The river spirits see all, he said. If you are pure of heart, they will show the truth. He dipped his hand into the river, murmuring ancient words. The water rippled and glowed, as if alive with light. Close your eyes, child, Papa Chijioke said. Listen to the river's voice. Adama closed her eyes, her breath steady. She felt the cool river mist on her skin, the murmur of water like a lullaby. Slowly, images began to form in her mind. Her mother's smile, the gentle voice of Madame Kem, the laughter of the children in the village square. Then, she saw the chief, his face twisted in anger, his greed like a dark shadow. She saw herself standing tall, refusing to bow. And behind it all, the river's silver light, washing away the lies. Papa Chijioke's voice cut through the vision. The river has spoken, he said. You are innocent, child. The sickness is the chief's own doing, a punishment for his greed and pride. Adama opened her eyes, her heart filled with hope. Thank you, Papa, she said, her voice firm. Papa Chijioke nodded. Go now, child, he said. Return to the village. The spirits have given you their blessing. No man's lies can stand against their truth. Adama rose, her steps light. She felt the river's strength in her veins, the power of the spirits in her heart. She walked back to the village, the moonlight guiding her path. As she entered the compound, she saw Madame Kem waiting at the door, her eyes wide with relief. Adama, she whispered, pulling her close. You are safe? Adama nodded, her voice strong. Yes, madam. I am safe. And I will not be silent. The spirits have spoken, and I will speak too. Madame Kem smiled, tears in her eyes. Then we will stand together, child, she said. For the truth, and for the light. And so, as the first bird sang the dawn, Adama stood tall. She knew the chief would fight to silence her, but she also knew the river's song was stronger. She would not bow. She would not break. She would stand for the truth, no matter the cost. The sun rose over Anyuha village, painting the sky in soft orange and pink. But for Adama, the morning was not peaceful. Her heart beat like a drum in her chest as she stood beside Madame Kem in the courtyard, preparing for what was to come. Word had spread quickly that Adama had gone to the river and spoken with old Papa Chijioke. Some villagers looked at her with hope in their eyes, but others turned away, their fear stronger than their faith. Adama took a deep breath, her hand steady as she pounded yam for breakfast. She would not let fear control her. She knew the spirits were with her, and that truth would shine brighter than any lie. But the chief's anger was a storm on the horizon. As the sun climbed higher, a messenger came running into the compound. His face was pale, and his voice shook as he spoke. "Madam Kem," he said, bowing low. "The chief demands to see Adama in the village square." Madam Kem stiffened, her eyes narrowing. "What does he want with the girl?" she asked. The messenger swallowed hard. "He says she must answer for the sickness that has come to the village. He says the spirits will decide if she is pure or if she is cursed." Adama felt a cold shiver run down her spine. She glanced at Madam Kem, who placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Be strong, child," Madam Kem said. "You carry the river's blessing in your heart." Adama nodded, lifting her chin. She would not run. She would face the chief's wrath with courage. The village square was already crowded when they arrived. The villagers gathered in a wide circle, their faces a mix of fear, curiosity, and doubt. At the center stood Chief Ezioma, his tall frame wrapped in a cloak of deep blue, his eyes like thunderclouds. He raised his hand, and the square fell silent. "Adama," Chief Ezioma's voice boomed, deep and cold. "You stand accused of bringing sickness to our people. The river spirits have been angered by your presence." Adama stepped forward, her voice clear and calm. "I am no witch, chief. I have done nothing to bring harm to Anyuha. The river spirits have already spoken, my heart is pure." A murmur ran through the crowd. Chief Ezioma's eyes narrowed, his lips curling in a sneer. "You dare to defy me," he said. "The spirits do not speak to children. Only to those who carry the wisdom of the elders." He turned to the villagers, raising his arms. "You see, my people? She claims power she does not have. She would bring ruin upon us all." But before he could speak further, old Papa Chijioke stepped from the crowd. His white beard glowed in the sunlight, and his eyes were calm and steady. "Chief Ezioma," he said, his voice strong. "The spirits do speak to those who listen with open hearts. I have seen the river's light, and it has shown me the truth." Chief Ezioma's face darkened. "Old man," he spat, "you are blinded by old stories. I speak for the gods of this land." Papa Chijioke shook his head. "You speak only for yourself, Ezioma," he said. "The river spirits see beyond your pride." A hush fell over the square. Chief Ezioma's eyes glittered with fury. "Then let the river spirits decide," he said, his voice a cold promise. "Tonight, Adama will go to the river. If she is pure, the water will not harm her. But if she carries a curse, she will be taken by the spirits forever." A gasp rose from the villagers. Madam Kem's hand tightened on Adama's arm. "No," she said, her voice fierce. "This is madness, Ezioma. You cannot force a child to face the river's wrath." But Chief Ezioma only smiled, his teeth sharp as a jackal's. "The spirits will decide," he said. "And all will see her fate." As the villagers drifted away, whispers filled the air. Adama stood tall, her fear now a quiet resolve in her chest. Madam Kem looked at her, her eyes filled with worry. "You do not have to do this, child," she said softly. "We can run. We can find a new home, far from Ezioma's reach." Adama shook her head. "No, madam. If I run, his lies will win. I will go to the river. The spirits will show them the truth." Madam Kem hugged her close, her voice trembling. "Then I will stand by you, Adama. I will not let you face this alone." As night fell, the villagers gathered by the riverbank, their faces lit by the flickering light of torches. The river flowed like molten silver, its surface calm and still. Adama stood at the water's edge, her bare feet sinking into the cool mud. The moon shone overhead, a pale guardian in the night sky. Papa Chijioke stood beside her, his staff held high. "Do not fear, child," he said. "The river knows your heart. It will not harm the innocent." Chief Ezioma stood across the river, his dark eyes watching like a hawk. "Step into the water," he said, his voice ringing with false triumph. "Let the river claim its due." Adama took a deep breath, her heart steady. She stepped forward, the water cool and smooth around her ankles. She closed her eyes, listening for the river's song. The water lapped around her legs, gentle as a mother's hand. She felt its power, deep and ancient, washing away her fear. In the silence, she spoke from her heart. "Spirits of the river, I stand before you. My soul is pure. Let your light shine on the truth." For a moment, the world was still. Then the river began to glow, a soft silver light that spread around her like a halo. The villagers gasped, stepping back in awe. Papa Chijioke raised his staff, his voice filled with wonder. "The river has spoken," he cried. "She is innocent." Chief Ezioma's face twisted with rage, but the light of the river would not be denied. It shone brighter than his lies, brighter than his power. Adama stepped from the water, her heart light. She had faced the chief's wrath and found her strength in the river's song. She would not bow to fear. She would not be broken. And as the villagers watched, they saw not a witch, but a girl of courage, a girl who carried the river's blessing in her heart. The soft glow of dawn spread over the village of Anyuha, washing away the fear of the night. The river had spoken, and its gentle light still danced in Adama's heart. She stood beside Madame Kem, her hands clasped tightly in the older woman's warm grasp. They had survived the river's test, and hope was rising like the sun. Word of the river's light had spread like the wind. People came from every corner of the village to see Adama, their eyes no longer filled with suspicion but with wonder and relief. Some brought small offerings, a calabash of palm wine, a basket of yams, or woven mats. They laid them at her feet, their voices soft with gratitude. "Thank you, child," an old woman said, her back bent with age. "You have shown us that the spirits still watch over us." Adama bowed her head, humbled by their kindness. She still felt the river's cool touch on her skin, its song echoing in her heart. She knew her journey was not over, but she no longer walked it alone. Madame Kem stood at her side, her face bright with pride. "You see, Adama," she said, her voice gentle. "The people have seen your courage. They know now that you are no witch." Adama smiled, her eyes shining with relief. "It was not my courage alone, madam," she said. "The river spirits were with me." Papa Chijioke appeared, his white beard glowing in the morning light. "And so they shall remain, child," he said. "The river's blessing is not a thing to be taken lightly. It is a promise, a bond between you and the spirits." He turned to the villagers gathered around. "Listen well, my people," he called, his voice strong and sure. "The river has spoken, and it has named Adama as its daughter. We must honor this. Let her be our guide, our healer." The villagers nodded, their eyes wide with respect. In that moment, Adama felt a new strength growing in her chest, a power she had never known. But not all shared in the hope that filled the village. Chief Ezioma stood at the edge of the crowd, his eyes dark as storm clouds. His pride had been shattered by the river's light, and anger simmered in his heart. He turned and stalked away, his steps heavy with fury. In his compound, he called his guards and his advisors, his voice low and dangerous. "They think the river has chosen her," he spat. "But I know better. She is a child, nothing more. She cannot lead us." One of his guards shifted uneasily. "But, chief, the river's light." "Silence." Ezioma snapped. "The river is a trickster. We will not bow to the will of a child. We will remind them who truly leads this village." As the chief plotted, Adama walked the village paths, her heart open to the people who once doubted her. She spoke with mothers who had lost children to the sickness. She held the hands of the old and the young, her presence a balm to their fears. In the evenings, she sat by the riverbank, listening to its gentle song. Papa Chijioke often joined her, his old bones creaking as he sat on the cool earth. "You have a gift, child," he said one night, the moonlight silver on the water. "The river does not choose lightly. It saw your heart, your kindness, your strength. That is what the spirits value." Adama looked at the old man, her eyes wide. "But I am just a girl, Papa," she said. "How can I be enough to heal the village?" Papa Chijioke smiled, his eyes twinkling. "The river does not care how small you are. Even the smallest pebble can make ripples in the water. You have already begun to heal us, by showing us courage when we had none." The days grew brighter, the sickness slowly easing its grip on Anyuha. Adama and Madame Cam worked side by side, brewing herbs and chanting prayers. They taught the people how to cleanse their homes and their hearts, how to honor the spirits with respect. One afternoon, a small girl with wide eyes approached Adama. Her name was Nena, and her little brother had fallen sick. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Please, Adama," she said, her tiny hands clutching the edge of Adama's wrapper. "Can you help my brother? He is so weak." Adama knelt and took Nena's hands in her own. "Take me to him," she said gently. They walked to the girl's home, where a thin boy lay on a mat, his skin hot and dry. Adama knelt beside him, her fingers brushing his brow. She closed her eyes and called softly to the river spirits. "Great spirits, bring your healing to this child," she whispered. "Let your water flow through his veins, and wash away his pain." She mixed healing herbs and placed them in cool water, then bathed the boy's forehead with the blessed water from the river. She spoke to him softly, her voice like a river's lullaby. Slowly, the boy's fever broke. His small hand reached for his sister, and a smile touched his lips. Nena's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Adama," she said, her voice shaking. "Thank you." Adama smiled, her heart light. "It is not me you must thank," she said. "It is the river that watches over us all." As the days turned into weeks, hope blossomed in Anyuha like flowers after the rain. The people began to believe that the river spirits were not cruel, but protectors, guides to lead them through the darkness. Adama became a beacon of that hope, her courage a light that shone for everyone to see. But in the shadows of the chief's compound, Izioma's anger festered like a wound. He watched the girl's growing power and knew that if he did not act, his own place would be lost. He summoned his advisors one night, his voice a hiss of venom. "The river has made her strong," he said, "but I will remind them who truly rules this land. She will see that even the river's light cannot protect her from my wrath." Yet even as Izioma plotted in the darkness, the river's song grew louder in Adama's heart. She knew that true power did not come from fear or pride. It came from love, from courage, and from the river's gentle promise that she would never be alone. And so, as the sun rose on Anyuha once more, Adama stood ready to face whatever darkness lay ahead. For she was the river's daughter, and her spirit would not be broken. The sun rose over Anyuha, golden rays washing the village in a warm glow. But for Chief Izioma, the light did nothing to chase away the storm brewing in his heart. He stood at the window of his compound, staring at the river that shimmered like liquid silver in the distance. He clenched his fists. "That girl," he muttered, his voice thick with fury. "She dares to challenge my authority, to steal the hearts of my people." His advisor, Obina, shifted nervously beside him. "Chief, the people see her as the river's child," he said cautiously. "If we act too harshly, they may turn against us." Izioma turned to Obina, his eyes like cold coals. "Then we must be clever," he said. "We will not strike her down with force. We will use their faith against them." He called for the village elders to gather in the great square that afternoon. The news spread quickly, and soon the people of Anyuha stood together, curiosity and unease stirring in their hearts. Adama stood near the riverbank, her heart steady but wary. She could feel the river's hum, a soft whisper in her soul. When the elders were seated and the people quieted, Chief Izioma stepped forward. He wore his finest robes of red and gold, the symbol of his power gleaming in the sun. "People of Anyuha," he began, his voice smooth as oil, "we have faced many trials. The sickness that swept through our homes has tested our strength and faith. And in our darkest hour, a child claimed to speak for the river. Adama felt the weight of every eye turned to her, some filled with trust, others with doubt. She lifted her chin and met their gaze. Some say the river has chosen her, Izioma continued. But we must be certain. We cannot build our future on the word of a child alone. The crowd murmured. Adama felt her heart quicken, but she took a slow breath and listened to the river's quiet song. Izioma raised a hand. Therefore, I call for a final test, he declared. If Adama is truly the river's daughter, let the river itself prove her worth. Tonight, she must spend the night in the sacred grove where the spirits dwell. Gasps rose from the villagers. The sacred grove was a place of ancient power, where even the oldest elders went with reverence and fear. It was said that spirits guarded the grove, and that those who entered with impure hearts would never return. Obina shifted uneasily. Chief, that is dangerous, he said softly. If she does not survive. Izioma's mouth twisted in a cruel smile. Then it will be the river's judgment, not mine. Adama felt a shiver run down her spine, but she stepped forward, her voice calm and sure. I accept your challenge, Chief, she said. If it is the river's will, I will return at dawn. The people watched her with wide eyes, some whispering prayers, others wondering if they would ever see her again. As the sun dipped low and the shadows of evening crept across the village, Adama walked alone toward the sacred grove. She rose and walked from the grove, her steps light. At the edge of the forest, she found the villagers waiting. Their faces were tense, but when they saw her, a cheer rose up like a wave. She has returned, they cried. The river has blessed her. Even Chief Izioma could not hide his shock. His eyes narrowed, but the power in the grove's light was undeniable. Adama stood before them, the amulet at her neck gleaming with the river's glow. The spirits have spoken, she said. We must stand together, with love and respect for the river that gives us life. The people of Anyuha bowed their heads, their hearts full of hope. And though Chief Izioma's pride burned in the shadows, he knew that the river's daughter had truly returned, stronger and brighter than ever. The sun rose over the village of Anyuha, golden and bright. Its warm light touched every hut, every path, and every heart. The river flowed softly, as if singing a gentle song of hope. The people gathered in the square, their eyes on Adama, the girl who had faced the spirits and returned. Chief Izioma stood at the front, his face stiff and proud. But even he could not hide the fear in his eyes. Adama walked forward, her step steady, the river stone amulet glowing at her neck. She wore a simple dress, her hair tied back, but there was something powerful in the way she carried herself. People of Anyuha, she said, her voice clear and strong. The river has spoken. The spirits have blessed us. We have faced sickness and fear, but we are still here. We are strong because we stand together. The villagers listened, silent and still. The wind carried her words, and even the birds in the trees seemed to pause and hear. Adama turned to Chief Izioma. Chief, I have no wish to rule or take your place, she said. But I ask that you listen to the river's song. The river asks for kindness, for respect, and for peace. Will you listen? Izioma's lips tightened. He looked at the people, at their hopeful faces. He looked at the river, its surface shining with the morning sun. He took a slow breath. The river has spoken, he said at last, his voice low. And I will listen. A murmur of relief and joy spread through the crowd. Old women wept and held each other. Children danced in circles, their laughter ringing out like bright bells. Madame Kem stepped forward, her eyes shining with tears. Adama, you have saved us all, she said, her voice soft. You have shown us that courage can be stronger than fear. Adama smiled. I did not do it alone, she said. The river was with me, and so were all of you. We are all children of the river. The villagers nodded, their hearts open. They began to sing, an old song of the river, passed down from their grandparents and great-grandparents. The song rose up, filling the square with music. Izioma lowered his head, his shoulders heavy. He had been a strong leader once, but his pride had clouded his heart. Now he saw the truth in Adama's words. He stepped back and let the people sing. As the song faded, Adama spoke again. "We will heal this village," she said. "We will plant new crops. We will clean the riverbanks. We will care for the old and teach the young. The river will be our guide, and we will walk together." The people cheered. In their voices, there was no fear, only hope. Days turned to weeks. Adama led the village in their work. She showed them how to use herbs to stay healthy, how to find clean water, and how to listen to the river's quiet voice. The children ran along the riverbanks, their laughter as bright as the sun. The old women wove mats and baskets, their hands steady with new purpose. Even Chief Izioma changed. He walked beside the people, no longer giving orders but listening. He saw how the river's blessings grew wherever there was kindness and love. One evening, as the sun set in a blaze of orange and gold, Adama stood at the river's edge. The water sparkled in the light, and the gentle current lapped at her toes. She closed her eyes and listened to the river's song, soft, endless, and full of life. Madame Kem joined her, her face kind and calm. "You have done well, child," she said. "You have shown the people that even in darkness, there is always a path back to the light." Adama smiled. "The river showed me the way," she said. "It showed me that the smallest stone can change the path of the water. Even the smallest voice can bring hope." The river hummed, as if in agreement. That night, the village gathered by the river for a feast. There was laughter and music, and the sweet smell of roasted yams and spicy fish. The children danced around the fire, and the elders shared stories of the river and its blessings. Adama sat beside Madame Kem, her heart full. She knew that there would still be challenges ahead. The river would rise and fall, and the seasons would change. But she also knew that the village was strong, because it had learned to listen, to the river, and to each other. As the moon rose high, Adama slipped away from the fire and walked to the river's edge. She knelt and touched the water, feeling its cool kiss on her skin. "Thank you," she whispered. "For guiding me. For showing me that courage can heal even the deepest wounds." The river's song answered her, a promise that it would always be there, flowing on through every storm and every dawn. Adama rose and turned back to the village, her steps light and sure. She carried the river's song in her heart, a song of hope, of healing, and of love. And in the quiet night, the river shone with silver light, a promise that the people of Anyuha would never be alone again. Years later, the village of Anyuha thrived. Children learned to swim in the river, and their laughter echoed through the hills. The riverbanks were green and full of life. Adama grew into a wise woman, known far and wide for her gentle spirit and the river's blessings she carried. Travelers came to Anyuha, drawn by stories of the girl who faced the river spirits and brought hope to her people. They listened to the villagers sing songs of healing and unity, songs that began with Adama and the river stone. The river flowed on, endless and strong. It watched over the village, whispering its secrets in every ripple. And the people of Anyuha never forgot that the river's strength was their strength too. No matter how dark the night or how heavy the burden, there is always hope when we stand together. Like the river that flows through every season, kindness and courage can heal even the deepest wounds. Thank you so much for listening to this inspiring African folktale. I hope it reminded you of the power of kindness and courage, and how together, we can overcome any challenge. If you loved this story, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to Rosie's African Folktales for more magical tales from our rich culture. Don't forget to leave a comment below telling us your favorite part of the story, or share a folktale from your village. We'd love to bring your story to life on this channel. Until next time, keep the river's song in your heart,